Ayo, 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 ayo. Bang, boom, pow. Thank you for coming to another episode of The Hype Show. I am Big J all day, aka the Mighty Big J. Again, welcome to another edition. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time joining you, thank you for joining me on another episode. This is the Thursday edition. If you are not new, thank you again for joining me for another episode. Do appreciate that. This is episode 29. We're mainly going to be discussing the Thursday night football game that's going to be taking place at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Seattle Seahawks. That game is taking place on Amazon Prime Video if you have that. If you live in the local market for the Seattle or Dallas at Fort Worth area, you should be able to see this game locally on television. And most of Texas, you'll be able to see this on your local networks in the Pacific Northwest as well. But outside of those markets, you'll be having to go to Prime Video to check out that game. Again, that game is at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Dallas Cowboys are favored at 9.5 to win that football game. When I was looking at the line earlier in the week, the line was 8. It was at an even 8, but it crept up to 8.5 as of this morning, and now it's at 9.5. The Cowboys have a 13-game home winning streak right now, and they face the Eagles in 10 days. So is there a possibility that the Dallas Cowboys overlook Seattle, waiting for the Philadelphia Eagles to next week, having them come into their building? I'm really not sure. I don't think that'll be a factor because the Seattle Seahawks themselves are reeling. They're reeling with defensive players getting hurt, and they're also reeling on the offensive side of the ball with Kenneth Walker being hurt and out for their last game. That definitely proved to be a huge difference because they didn't run the football very well in their loss to the San Francisco 49ers on Thanksgiving. And on the flip side, they're also not throwing the ball really well. Geno Smith hasn't had a great season like he did in 2022. I think more people are prepared for him this year, and I think that's part of the reason why he's not having as good of a year. But at the same time, he's regressed a lot in his statistics this year. He does have 12 touchdowns, but he has 8 interceptions, and he's been sacked 27 times, which is fourth amongst quarterbacks in the league. So there's just a lot to Seattle's offense that isn't clicking as it was last year. DK Metcalf had 678 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, but he did miss a game for the first time in his career. And there's been a few games where he just hasn't looked that good, even though he has 43 catches. Tyler Lockett leads the team with 54 catches, but just 570 yards receiving, and he has 4 touchdowns as well. So the average, the offense is not good, but it's not terrible. It's very average, and that's part of the problem. The defense is losing pieces on the other side of the ball as well. And once you have that going on, that's going to be a cause for disaster. So, me personally, the Seattle Seahawks, I think they could still be a wild card depending on how things go for the rest of their schedule. Because again, after this game coming up for Dallas, they have the Philadelphia Eagles coming up. But as far as Seattle's schedule, after this game tonight here, they'll be back on a regular-ish schedule, and they're at the San Francisco 49ers December 10th, 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox. So each of these teams, they need to win this game tonight because their next game is not going to be very easy. Like I said, they're hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Seahawks are at the San Francisco 49ers before they host the Eagles the following week on Monday Night Football. So things in the NFC are going to really get defined, in my opinion, in the next few weeks as far as who's going to do what, as far as who's going to be the top team. I personally still feel like it's going to be Philadelphia and then San Francisco right there because San Francisco, even though they're still in the mix, I feel like that stretch where they lost to Cleveland, Miami, and Cincinnati before they went into their bye week 9, that really hurt them. And unless Philadelphia finds a way to lose a couple of games, that's really going to hurt San Francisco. Beating Dallas will be fine, but it's not something that's going to prove who's going to be at the top of the conference because as long as Philadelphia is ahead of Dallas, it doesn't matter how good Dallas is record-wise. They could still have a better record than the Niners and end up being a 5 seed because they aren't going to win their division. So that's unfortunately just how it works with football here. So me personally, as I sit back and think about this here, the Dallas Cowboys are kind of stuck, kind of like the 49ers are, because as long as Philadelphia keeps on winning, they're going to have the home field advantage throughout the NFC. This game doesn't in any way affect the AFC at all. There's no AFC teams obviously playing in this game, so we'll talk more about the AFC in the picture and how that looks on Sunday. As it stands right now, Baltimore's at 9-3, and they're on a bye week this week. Jacksonville, Kansas City, and Miami are all 8-3. And then Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns sit at 7-4. The Broncos are at 6-5 here, along with the Indianapolis Colts and Texans, and so on and so forth. Like I said, we'll kind of discuss how the AFC picture looks on Sunday with the Sunday's broadcast. But as far as the NFC right now, looking at the NFC, Philadelphia, again, this is their conference until further notice. I'm definitely looking forward to that game with Dallas. That's definitely going to be a fun game as far as what they do coming up here. But Philadelphia hosting San Francisco coming up on Sunday. That's going to be huge, and I'll have a prediction for that because I love San Francisco's team, but Philadelphia is just such a complete team. That's just the problem. And San Francisco's had trouble with teams that are less complete than this, and they're on the road. So as much as I would love to see San Francisco win this game, it's going to be tough. I'll have an official prediction for you on Sunday as far as who I think is going to win, but it's going to be tough for the Niners. But overall, the NFC to me is not as clear cut as it sounds because there's still, like I said, 6 games to go, depending on who you are, if you've had your bye week or not. So like I said, as far going back to tonight's game, the Dallas Cowboys and Seahawks, like I said, they're predicted to win by 9.5. That's what the point spread is. When I see things like that, that means it needs to win by 10 points or more in order to get the victory. So I think Dallas has that capability. Seattle, to me, this isn't the one thing about this game is normally when you have a Thursday night football matchup, it's on a short week. That means you just played on Sunday. But because each of these teams played on Thanksgiving a week ago, this is a normal week in a sense. The short week was last week when they played from the previous Sunday to Thanksgiving. That was the short week for them. So in a way, this is a normal week for each team. So I don't really expect to see any sluggishness by any means, because typically coming into Sunday's game, coming to a Thursday night game from Sunday, these teams each look sluggish because of the fact that they just played 4 days ago. And that's really not enough time to really recover from that. So I'll take the Dallas Cowboys to win at home because they show out at home. And like I said, they have a 13-game home winning streak. They typically show out at home and do what they need to do. And as far as Seattle, Seattle needs to play above the level of what they've been playing just to keep this game close, or else Dallas could win this game by 10 points or more. So I'm going to take Dallas to win this game for sure. In order for Seattle to cover, they need to have a strong running game, but that's what they didn't have because of the fact that Kenneth Walker III is out, and he's out again tonight when he's still dealing with that oblique issue. So I'm looking at the depth chart for Seattle, looking at their running back situation. With Kenneth Walker out, you're going to need Zach Charbonnet and DJ Davis to step up, with Kenny McIntosh being the third running back available. Zach Charbonnet, he's a rookie out of UCLA. He was picked in the 2nd round here. On the season, he has 67 carries for 308 yards, but he hasn't found the end zone. I just don't know what he can really do yet. I haven't seen any indication that he's got the keys to really take over that role tonight. We'll really have to see more from him, though. As far as receiving the football, he's not really much of a threat either. He has 23 catches for 103 yards on the season, no touchdowns. So he hasn't found the end zone all season as we head into December. So if he's going to do anything, tonight would be a great night to do that because, like I said, Kenneth Walker III out with the oblique injury for the 2nd straight game. They're going to need him to really step it up. DJ Davis, he's more of a special teams guy. I've never really seen him kind of carry the ball in between the tackles for Seattle, but I hear his name a lot on punt return, kick return situations. So I genuinely don't really know what he can do as far as running between the tackles either. So that alone puts Seattle behind the 8 ball as far as Dallas, because Dallas immediately has the better offense. Dak Prescott is playing lights out football. And I think the only thing that precludes him from being an MVP or leading the MVP race is because of the fact that Jalen Hurts, again, has a better record than him. And he's been the catalyst, immediate catalyst for a lot of their victories this year. Dak Prescott has 2, but they've lost 2 more games to them as well directly. Philadelphia, they've lost to them head-to-head. So that leaves Dak Prescott at best 3rd or 4th, probably in the MVP conversation, maybe, because I still would have Patrick Mahomes ahead of him as well, even though they have the same record. So, again, going back to this game here, if Seattle wants to play or have any shot in this game at all, not only does Geno Smith have to play better, but that defense has to be lights out, but I just don't expect that against this Dallas Cowboys offense. And then on the flip side, the problem that Seattle's going to have is that Dallas Cowboys, that defense is very problematic. They're gonna cause problems for Geno Smith. I could see situations where they just eat Geno Smith alive and they don't give him time to throw the football, or they stuff the hole and make it tough for the running back to get any kind of yardage, and where they bounce it to the outside. If they can turn the corner, fine. But I just don't see that happening. If Seattle wins this game, there's going to have to be some lucky plays that are involved, and there's also going to have to be a situation where there's some timely plays made as well. But yeah, going back to Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, I see them winning this game comfortably. I'm just more focused on what they do 10 days from now when they travel to Philadelphia for Sunday Night Football, or they host Philadelphia, excuse me, for Sunday Night Football. That'll be December 10th on NBC. That following week, they're at the Buffalo Bills, December 17th at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox, December 17th. And then on Christmas Eve, they're at the Dolphins, 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox, before hosting the Detroit Lions 6 days later. That it's a Friday night game. So, oh no, I'm sorry, a Saturday night game, December 30th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC. They close out their season at Washington. I don't think that game will really matter that much because I think things will probably be solidified one way or the other. So that Washington game may not matter at the end of the season. But looking at this 5-game stretch here starting tonight for the Dallas Cowboys, they need all these victories, especially at Philadelphia in 10 days. You need all these. And they're all teams that are in the playoff hunt, too. I don't think Buffalo is out of it. I think they would be out of it if the playoffs were to start today, but they don't. But so I still feel like they're in the mix for a wild card spot. And even if Miami slips up at all, they could take that division back. So like I said, all these teams are in the mix for a playoff spot. So starting tonight, Dallas needs to win. On the flip side for Seattle, looking at their schedule and looking ahead to their schedule after tonight, like I said, they'll be at the 49ers again, December 10th, 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox. They host the Seattle Seahawks for Monday Night Football, December 18th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC. On Christmas Eve, that following Sunday, they'll be at the Tennessee Titans on CBS, 1 p.m. Eastern. New Year's Eve, they'll be hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers at 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox. So it's a little lighter schedule a bit for Seattle because of the fact that they have Tennessee and then they have Arizona as their final game of the season. So for the Seattle Seahawks, it'll be more dependent on what the San Francisco does on their own as far as their games coming up. And then at San Francisco, you need that victory to split the season series, because if San Francisco wins again, that's kind of it for you as far as winning the division. You just probably won't have as much of a shot after that. So for Seattle, they need this win too, but I'm picking Dallas to win this football game. I just don't really see a situation where Seattle wins this unless Dallas just plays absolutely sloppy football. But we'll just have to see how that pans out. But give me Dallas to win this football game here tonight. Um, as far as the rest of the schedule, I'll go ahead and read off the rest of the games coming up for you for the rest of week of 13. Week 13. This kicks off week 13. The teams that are not playing, the teams that are out of bye week, I'll go ahead and give you those teams first. The Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Chicago Bears, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New York Giants all have a bye week this week. Excuse me. All those teams have a bye week this week, so none of those teams are playing. All the games that are starting at 1 p.m. Eastern on December 3rd, this coming Sunday, are as follows. The Indianapolis Colts are at the Tennessee Titans. That game will be taking place at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. The Los Angeles Chargers, they definitely need to get things together as well. They're at the New England Patriots, the team that's reeling. That game will be taking place at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. These two games will both be on CBS. The Detroit Lions will be at the New Orleans Saints. That game will be taking place at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. That game will be on Fox. The Atlanta Falcons will be at the New York Jets. This game will be on Fox as well, but the game will be taking place at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Arizona Cardinals will be at the Pittsburgh Steelers at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. The game will be televised on CBS. The Miami Dolphins, will be at the Washington Commanders. That game will be taking place on Fox, or at the FedEx Field Stadium in Landover, Maryland. Again, that game will be broadcasting on Fox. And the Denver Broncos, that game was actually supposed to be an afternoon game, but it was flexed to an earlier schedule. The Denver Broncos will be at the Houston Texans. That game will be at NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas, on CBS, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a very interesting game because each of these teams were kind of expected to be kind of last place, and they've both played above their expectations. So, very important game as far as what the wild card picture could look like in the AFC. The next game here is at 4:05 p.m. Eastern on CBS. That's the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South Showdown at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. The next two games are at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The Cleveland Browns will be at the Los Angeles Rams. That'll be at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. And again, the San Francisco 49ers will be at the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field Stadium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Sunday night football matchup is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Green Bay Packers, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. That game will be on NBC, taking place at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the Monday night football matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That game will be taking place Monday, December 4th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC and ESPN. The game itself will be at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. So this schedule is kind of actually light this week here. Again, with 6 teams having a bye week, that means 26 teams will be playing. So with tonight's game here in the Monday Night Football matchup here, that leaves a situation where there's 22 teams playing on Sunday, so 11 games. So not quite as robust of a schedule this week here. Last week, every team played. There were no bye weeks, so they have to kind of catch teams up as far as getting them rested for the season, because I think after week 14, the bye weeks conclude. I think there's no more bye weeks after week 14. So at that point, everybody else had a bye week, and they'll basically be in the home stretch for the rest of the season. One thing that I also notice here is once December gets started here, there's more Saturday football. There won't be any Saturday football games this week or next week in week 14, but starting in week 15, there's going to be some games taking place on Saturday, December 16th. There's a few matchups taking place on that day as well. And then also in week 16, I noticed there's a couple of games taking place on Saturday as well. That's pretty customary later in the season. So as these games approach, the broadcasting schedule may change. I'll definitely keep you posted and let you know if there's any changes as far as when I'll be broadcasting, other days or anything like that. For now, it's still going to be Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But like I said, in the coming weeks here, we may switch things up because of the holidays and because of things of that nature as well. So I'll definitely keep you posted on each broadcast here. And like I said here, for tonight's game here, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to defeat the Seattle Seahawks. And we'll definitely talk about this game more on Sunday as far as the results, as far as who won, the statistics, the schedule, things of that nature. And then on Sunday's broadcast, I'll have a prediction for you for all the Sunday games I just named, and also the Monday Night Football broadcast as well. I'll have a prediction for you on that game also. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure to like and comment on this video as well. Definitely appreciate all the support that I can get. I really appreciate it very much. And if there's any situation here, if there's anything that you guys want to hear on this channel, please let me know about that as well. I predominantly talk about football. If I can squeeze in anything with basketball or hockey, I can if it's pretty important. But I usually talk about football until the spring. And then that's typically when I start to talk more about other sports with basketball and hockey, with baseball getting back full swing. And then, of course, March Madness coming at that particular time as well. That's when things kind of switch up. But it's typically a football broadcast during the fall and winter months here. So again, I appreciate any support we can get. Definitely like and comment on this video here, and also subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Again, be sure to join me again on Sunday. I'll definitely have a preview and a prediction for you on all of these teams as far as what they're going to do for each game. Also update you on the standings as well, and also kind of keep you up to speed as far as what the playoff standings look like here. Because as we get to the later part of the season here, again, these teams are trying to solidify where they're going to be as far as possible playoff seeding, possible winners of the division. And if the team is already just kind of bad, they're probably looking at the draft and probably getting themselves positions for a better draft pick as well. So it kind of just depends on what team we're talking about and who they're playing and things of that nature as to what the perspective will be. So again, thank you so much for this broadcast. Thursdays are usually an abbreviated broadcast because we talk more about the Thursday night football game and just kind of save everything else for Sunday and talk about Sunday and Monday in those broadcasts as well here. Again, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and like and comment on this video if you're new, or if this isn't your first time. Either way, please do so. Again, my name is Big J All Day, aka the Mighty Big J. This has been another episode of the Hype Show. Thank you so much. Here, appreciate it. And I'll talk with you guys on Sunday, and we'll see how things went. You have a great night here. Thank you so much. Peace.